The life insurance sector is at a critical inflection point as both government and industry bodies work closely to navigate sweeping changes to remuneration structures and clawback arrangements. With me today is the Financial Services Council's CEO, Sally Loane, to talk about some of the challenges and opportunities that we can expect to see in this space. Sally, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Dan.
No worries. I just wanted to begin by firstly asking you, why is self-regulation so important for the life insurance sector?
It's actually critical because financial services, since the GFC, financial services in Australia have been subject to more than 14 separate inquiries and reviews. Now that's come at a very heavy cost to our sector, more than $3 billion worth of those inquiries, under 17 different ministers relevant to the portfolio. So we're used to all of that regulation, we're used to inquiries, but self-regulation we feel is the way to go. You might remember more than 2 years ago now, we initiated, as the life insurance sector, initiated the Trowbridge Review, which was a root and branch review by the independent John Trowbridge into our sector. Now, out of that review fell a lot of very interesting changes and reforms. We're part-way through those now. Some of those have come by way of legislation. The remuneration reforms for the way advisors are paid, which really reduced those high upfront commissions, that came because of Trowbridge. That's self-regulation. And now we're obviously rolling out the life insurance code of practice, which again is a very important piece of self-regulation. Self-regulation is more flexible, it's cheaper, it's more efficient. We believe that we can make changes as they need to happen for consumers with self-regulation. If you had to wait for things to get through that pipeline in Canberra, you'd be waiting a very long time.
Now, last year, a total of $8 billion was paid out in claims by life insurers in Australia. However, recent Roy Morgan data seems to suggest declining satisfaction rates among both risk and life insurance policyholders. Sally, just how can the industry work to turn this around?
Yeah, well, the industry's been through, as I said, a lot of scrutiny. It's also been through a lot of media criticism and a lot of criticism from a range of stakeholders, and we absolutely accept that. This is part of the process. But you mentioned that very important figure, Dan, $8 billion worth of claims have been paid. 90% of claims are paid in the first instance. The overwhelming majority of people who make a claim get their claims paid in the first instance. If you've got group superannuation, you've got life insurance in group, 81 cents of every dollar is paid out in premiums. So the system's working. What we've got to get better at doing, me and I guess some of my members, is talking about life insurance as something that is absolutely positive for Australians. It provides coverage when you need it. It can protect your family. It can protect your well-being, your lifestyle. That's why I'm taking a lot of opportunities to talk about it. I went on Triple J on the ABC the other day and talked about mental health issues in life insurance. These are the forums where we've got to reach out and talk to people about life insurance. A lot of people don't really know they have it. If they're in group super, they don't really understand it. It takes quite a bit of effort because it's quite technical. We've got to get better at getting out there and talking about it as something that's indeed very positive. We do have a life insurance conference too every year where we get up and we talk about life insurance and we really examine the issues. We've got to find a way of getting that out into, so consumers can understand it better. So it's not just us talking within the beltway. We have to reach out better to consumers.
Now, one of the ongoing points of discussion within the overall debate surrounding life insurance has been approved product lists. Sally, where does the FSC stand on expanding approved product lists, and just how important is developing an industry-wide standard for APLs?
Very, very important. The issue of APLs and choice of APLs came out of the Trowbridge Review. Now, with Trowbridge, the first priority for us was to get our code of practice, so that was number one priority. Then there was that priority around remuneration that came out of Trowbridge. Now we're working on the APL standard as we speak. Very important for everybody to understand that our sector is pro-choice. We're pro-choice when it comes to superannuation. We're working very hard to convince the policymakers that superannuation needs to be opened up to include choice and competition because it's very protected right now. It's got to move into the 21st century, but with APLs we're also very much pro-choice and we are a long way into developing that standard.
Now, Sally, you mentioned earlier your life insurance code of practice, which is set to come into force from July 1 this year. Just how will it hold life insurers to account?
We will have a separate independent life code compliance committee. That will be a 3-person panel with an independent chair, somebody of high standing in the community. That is going to ensure that our members adhere to what's in the code, and that gives consumers that extra layer of confidence that any breaches of the code or supposed breaches of the code will be heard by that independent committee. And they have quite an array of sanctions that they can actually impose. The code will also be a standard for the FSC's members, and if you want to join the Financial Services Council, we are one of the very few industry bodies that have accountable standards, and members can be held to account to those standards. That's why businesses like to join the FSC. We have a high bar, they have to reach it. Our code is also is going to be a standard, as well as having this extra layer of the independent commission.
Now, you've previously mentioned that the code is something that is going to be continuously developed, and I just was keen to hear a bit more about certainly what we can expect to see from further iterations.
Yes, yes. That's why self-regulation, coming back to that point about self-regulation, is actually very attractive for consumers, because it means that instead of waiting for legislation to go through Parliament, we can actually work now on the second iteration of the code, which is what we're doing. The first code, and I've got a copy right here, and that is available on our website now. The first code actually will be mandatory on all of our members from the 1st of July this year, but we're already working on the second iteration of the code. In the current code, the first iteration, we already go above the law in many areas. The second iteration, we're going to have a deeper dive into some areas, including mental health. There will be more obligations on our members to think about mental health. We address it already in the first code, but we're going to have a deeper dive into issues like mental health. And also we will have those standard minimum medical definitions up as well.
Sally, what's been the reaction of some of your members regarding the implementation of the code here?
All of our members, Dan, have been fully engaged on this whole process, right from the Trowbridge process all the way through. And I've been in this job just over 2 years now, so it's taken up a lot of time. Not one single life insurer has been dragged kicking and screaming to this process. Everybody has been at the table every step of the way. They're fully engaged and fully supportive of all the things that we are delivering. And I think that's really critical for people to understand. This is not something that somebody's imposing on the sector. This is what the life insurers are doing through the FSC for consumers, and that's a really important point to understand.
Sally, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Dan.